Part 3, The Map. Jupiter and I had only waited a few minutes before Legrand and Wolf came through the door. Legrand was smiling, but he had a strange look in his eyes. He took off his backpack and put it down. Jupiter was angry. He shouted at Legrand, "Why did you go off by yourself? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you take me with you?" "Everything is okay, Jupiter," Legrand said. "Nothing is okay," Jupiter yelled. "That gold bug has made you a crazy man." Legrand sat down next to me. I said, "Jupiter has good reasons to be mad. He is supposed to take care of you, and then you run off like that." "Jupiter thinks that I'm crazy," Legrand said. "Do you think that I'm crazy?" "Well, I'm starting to think so," I said. Legrand looked at Jupiter and me. He said, "I want to show you both something, but first we need to build a fire." Jupiter started the fire. I took my chair over to the fireplace. Legrand took something out of his backpack. When the fire was started, Legrand handed me the piece of parchment. "Look at it," he said. "I've already seen it," I said. "There's nothing to look at. It's blank on both sides." "Now hold it close to the fire," Legrand said, "but don't let it burn." I did what he said to do. Jupiter looked at us and shook his head. He said, "Now, both of you are crazy." Legrand kept looking at the parchment. He said to me, "Now take it away from the fire and look at it." I was so surprised that I almost fell out of my chair. There was something on the parchment. It looked like some sort of map. I showed it to Jupiter. Jupiter looked at the parchment and said, "Oh no, now I'm going crazy too." "It's like magic," I said to Legrand. "It's a map," he said. "You can only see it for a while, then it fades away. But when you hold the parchment near the fire, the map comes back again." "How is that possible?" I asked. Legrand said, "It's some kind of secret ink that can only be seen when it's near heat." "Who drew the map on the parchment?" I asked. "And why did that person use secret ink?" "Look at the very bottom of the parchment," said Legrand. "There is a small drawing below the map. I think that's a clue." Then Legrand asked us, "What does the drawing look like to you?" "An animal?" I said. "Yes, but what kind of animal?" Legrand asked. Jupiter shouted, "A sheep! A goat!" "Yes, a goat," I said. Legrand looked at both of us and asked, "What is another name for a goat? What do you call a young goat?" "A kid," I said. "A young goat is called a kid." "That's right," Legrand said. "Have you ever heard the name Captain Kidd?" I jumped up from my chair. "Captain Kidd, the famous pirate?" I remembered the stories about Captain Kidd. He was the most famous of all pirates. He was caught and hanged in 1701. But before he was caught and hanged, he buried a huge treasure chest somewhere. People looked for the chest, but nobody ever found it. Jupiter picked up the map and looked at it. "This is a confusing map," he said. "I don't know how to read it." "Yes, it is a confusing map," said Legrand, "but I can read it." That's what I was doing last night. I made a copy of the map, and I followed the map last night. "Do you know where the treasure is buried?" I asked him. "Yes," Legrand said. "At least I think so." Then he picked up his backpack and said, "Let's go get it."